Hello everyone, Sableye here and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a really quick video just kind of tiering my initial thoughts on where the fully evolved Pokemon from the Teal mask are going to slot into the VGC metagame, just on your standard tier list with S being the best, D being the bottom. Once again, very early format, so a lot of these things could change, but I'm going to go over my initial thoughts and we're going to start with Arbok. You know what, might as well go Arbok first because why not? This thing's a D tier, guys. It has never been good. It has Intimidate, sure. Terra, I don't think it saves it. Like, being a poison type wasn't necessarily bad before. Like, it didn't get them anything. But, like, being a poison type now, really, it still doesn't get you anywhere. And, like, if you're wasting your Terra on your Arbok, I mean, I think there's just other tools that, like, are just 20 times better than an Arbok. Like, you have Lando to compete with. You have the Hisuian Arcanine to compete with. It's not going to be good. It's just not. I'm sorry. If you're an Arbok lover, I apologize. Now, Alolan Sandslash, on the other hand, okay? I don't know if there's, like, immense amount of love for it, but I do think it's a little bit better than Arbok, so I'm going to rock it in a C tier right now, and I'm going to throw regular Sandslash in D. I just think, like, Alolan Sandslash just has a little bit of a shot, just because Ninetales is coming back in this format, and just getting that extra, just getting an actual good snow setter. All of a sudden you get a defense boost now, and you're faster because of Slush Rush. It just feels like there's potential there. I don't know if you're going to see it be used, but I can definitely see it a little bit more viable than the regular old Sandslash. So, Clefable I've never liked. I mean, in theory it's decent, and maybe should go C tier, but I've never liked this mon. Like, honestly, Clefairy itself is just better. I'm going to add Clefairy and Dusclops at the end of the list because I have to post-edit those in after. But I'll add those after. But, like, Clefable I've never loved. I've never been a huge fan of. Like, yes, I believe it still gets Follow Me. But I just don't think it does enough. Like, it's one of those rare instances where, like, its unevolved form is just better. Which is really, really odd. Anyways, besides the point. We're going to go regular Ninetales in B. I'm going to keep it C, but it's going to be high C tier. Just because I feel like there's a niche for being able to set Sun at the fast pace that Ninetales can go. Because it does still get access to Encore. So being able to set Sun that fast feels pretty decent. So it might slide into B. I don't want to put it in B just because I feel like it gets overshadowed anyways. And I don't think Sun is necessarily the weather of choice right now. But it's not a terrible Pokemon. I think it, you know what, I'm just gonna throw it in B. I'm just gonna throw it in B before people get mad at me. We're gonna go Alolan Ninetales. I'm gonna throw this thing in A right now. I don't know if it's A quality. It wants to be A quality. Terra helps it immensely. You're a fast support piece. You can get your Aurora Veil up nice and fast. It is a very strong option. I don't know how it's actually going to shape into the metagame. I feel like there's options for it to do so in that nice fast Encore, Icy Wind, Blizzard, Aurora Veil, Fairy coverage, you know, just kind of walling out Shenpa a little bit. It feels like a good piece, so I'm going to leave it in A right now. Obviously, initial tier list could definitely drop a little bit later. Poliwrath, I'm going to keep it in C. If I'm going to use a water fighting type, I'm going to use Urshifu. Nothing against Poliwrath, but I'm just going to use Urshifu. Like, yeah, I get Swift Swim here, but there's better Swift Swim mons in this format, and there's a better water fighting mon in this format. So the niche it had, if it had one, is now gone. Just still kind of cool, still gets fast belly drum, stuff like that, but I just don't think it ever goes higher than C tier. Victory Bell, I got a lot of friends that love Victory Bell. They're gonna hate me for this one, but I don't think it's there. I don't think Victory Bell is the play. We're gonna go D tier here. Like, it might see maybe some niche use on some random team, but like I just think for one main or a few main reasons that we're gonna see and we're gonna talk about shortly, this thing doesn't creep out of D tier ever. Golem, another bad mon. Like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Like, you can tear it out of your 4x weakness now. But it's just not good enough to compete with the rest of the format, I don't think. And I really don't think it's getting there. Like, you don't get anything fancy. You get maybe, like, I think your best setup move is, like, Rock Polish or maybe Curse, if you get Curse. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's doing anything in this format. Yeah, you can go, like, you can tear it out of those double 4 weaknesses now, but it's not worth it. Diplin, I'm going to go C tier. I think there's a slight niche in the fact that, spoiler warning, you've all been warned, that apparently Evolite works on this thing. So with Evolite working on this thing, yeah. I think maybe something happens here. Obviously, there's probably gonna be an evolution planned in the future, but Evolite working on the thing might see some usage. I still don't think it beats the allegations of getting out of D tier, but maybe. Just maybe a little bit. Anyways, okay. See, I'm going to put this thing in A just because I am a ghost grass believer, okay? I don't even know how to pronounce this Pokemon name. Is it like Sinistra? I don't even know how to pronounce the name, okay? I think it's Sinistra. Either way, I think it's very, very good. Like, Grass Ghost with the supporting options it gets. Matcha Gotcha is also a really cool move as well. Definitely is, I don't want to say it's broken, but it's a pretty good move. Looking good. Looking forward to seeing how that kind of slots into the metagame, because that does get a lot of cool options. You get stuff like Strength Sap, Rage Powder if you want it to be a supportive role. You can also go on the offensive. I think it's a very cool mod. I believe Hospitality is a 25% heal as well, which, once again, very, very cool. Okay, so this is where we're going to get a lot of controversy here over the rating of these next 6 or 7 Pokemon. So Okidori is probably the best of these 3, or Okidogi, whatever. I don't even know how to pronounce these names. They're so weird, and honestly, I don't think they're good enough for me to learn their names. But I'm gonna go B tier for Okidogi. It's a hot take, but I do think something to do with like Guard Dog and just the ability of poison fighting. It kind of reminds me that it has like that Toxic Croak coverage kind of thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad mod, but I definitely think it's gonna take the correct team to be able to actually figure out. And that's where we're going to put it in B. Monkey Dory. I don't want to do this thing dirty because it is my favorite of the 3. But it doesn't go higher than C tier, guys, okay? It just doesn't go higher than C tier. It's it just doesn't have... I don't think the typing really does it any favors. Like, Poison Psychic is cool, but it doesn't go any farther than that. I think that's about where we're at with that thing. It doesn't do much. Like, I don't see where it's gonna slot into the meta. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to be wrong. Hey, prove me wrong. I wouldn't mind seeing all 3 of these things being like A tier at the end of this format. But hey, prove me wrong. Pheasant Deputy, guys, I'm sorry. If you're a Pheasant Deputy fan, it's just not it. It doesn't have. It hardly has any offensive stats. The one thing it has going for it is Tailwind, Roost, Icy Wind as support options, which are very good because you can now spam Dazzling Gleams and Icy Winds, and you potentially proc your Toxic Chain ability, which is a very cool option. It definitely helps some of the stallier teams. I just don't think it actually ever breaks those allegations of just being... It doesn't do anything. Cool, you've got a Tailwind. Cool, you poisoned me, but you've done nothing. You know, you're not really doing a lot. Yeah, it's a cool support piece. I just don't think it ever gets out of D tier. I just think there's so much better support. Like, if I'm going to spam Icy Wind, I'm going to spam it with my Ninetales and get Aurora Veil up. You know? I just think it gets outclassed in the role that it wants to play. Now, I'm going to kind of rank all the Ogerpons in this at the same time. And I think you guys can all kind of get the understanding of where I'm going with these. Probably the only Pokemon I am putting in S tier. So, we're still learning everything on these Pokemon right now. However, the grass one doesn't need to hold the mask. It can hold whatever item it wants. And when it terras, it gets the speed boost. Sounds pretty good to me, right? The other 3 all have to hold their designated mask. However, holding the designated mask actually gives them a 1.2 times attack boost onto every single one of their attacks. So that in its own, it's like holding an item still, right? It's like... we all initially thought like, oh, you can't hold an item. The grass one is just going to be superior, right? Because it also gets Defiant. In case I didn't mention that in the grass one, it gets Defiant. But like giving the 1 point times attack boost, it's almost as if they have like an expert belt or like a valuable item that's actually doing something here for them, you know? And because of that, the mask doesn't feel like a waste anymore. And Grass Fire and Grass Water are very good typings. Like Grass Water, Water Absorb, really, really good. And I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. I'm going to talk about the best part at the end of this. But the signature move, Ivy Cudgel, I'm going to butcher that name. But, guys, it is base 100. And it has a high chance to crit, and it's 100% accurate. And it's based on the type from the mask. So you've got guaranteed 100% stab. Now technically it's 120 base power on the other 3. Because of the fact that you now get the 1.2 times attack boost. And it just feels good, right? You've got Mold Breaker over here, so your fire moves can actually hit Heatrans and stuff like that. You've got the Water Absorb here, so you can actually use Follow Me, which I'll get to in a minute, to redirect the Urshifus into you, to eat the Surging Strikes. And then the Rockmon is a sturdy Follow Me user, and it gets basically 100% accurate Stone Edge. with Ivy Cudgel, which I think is kind of disgusting. I can't help but feel that that's kind of disgusting, you know? It's really kind of disgusting. It feels pretty good. All 4 of them I just think are going to be super strong. All 4 of them are probably going to have their spots in the meta. That's why they're S tier. Also, follow me. Being able to follow me, the Spore user, which is normally Amoonguss, and then be immune to said Spore, feels pretty good. I'm going to be honest, guys. That is making Ogerpon probably one of the best follow me users we've ever had. I mean, I know it's still early and stuff like that, but generally speaking, I think all 4 of these are going to be top tier. They're going to start shaping the meta. So we're going to see those up there, and we're going to start seeing them used. Weezing, I have a lot less respect for. I'm going to put this one here because if you do want Misty Terrain, it is something. The regular Weezing is just bad, though. I'm going to keep it in... I'm going to go D. I'll keep the Fairy Weezing in B. I don't know if it's quite a B or more of a high C tier. But I do think with like the neutralizing gas option and the Misty Terrain option, both feel relatively decent depending on if we want something to have a psychic, a Misty Seed or something like that, you know? And it's not a terrible mod. It's got some decent coverage. Dazzling Gleam spread is pretty good. I'm disappointed in neutralizing gas because neutralizing gas doesn't turn off anything that you'd want to make it turn off, right? I would love neutralizing gas to turn off Commander. I would love if it could turn off Photosynthesis. Proto, I kind of get that doesn't turn off, but like, you can't turn off Commander? Come on, buddy. You gotta be able to turn off Commander, you know? It's just not there. It's just not it. I apologize, Weezing, but you're just not quite there, but I do think there's maybe a niche with the Misty Terrain stuff. Snorlax, I'm gonna keep in a high C tier. I don't know if it really does anything. The curse set is kind of cool. I just don't know if it gets enough done for the rest of the meta right now. Like, once again, if I'm going to use a normal Trick Room user, I'm probably just using one of the Ursalunas. Like, yeah, once again, I think the only value you have here is Curse, which kind of maybe does something and gives you some sort of thing. Maybe a stockpile set could also be cool. Just, I can't see it being used outside of something like those, outside of those few niche usage. It's staying in C. Furret, we're going to go Furret right into D tier, guys. I'm not even going to talk about this mod. It's bad. It's always been bad. If I'm wrong and Furret got some hidden buff that I don't know about, cool. Noctowl is gonna go right beside his fellow buddy right down there, and he's gonna go into D tier. We're not. You know what? Well, we're on a roll. Just throw an Ariados in there too. Just get out of my sight. Okay, Ariados gonna go in D tier as well. Once again, there's some like they're not ugly looking Pokemon. They're just like not good. And I hate to call Pokemon not good, but like it's just not gonna be good. They're just not gonna be good, guys. It's over. Politoed, my pride and joy. I do love Politoed, but they did it such a disservice in this generation by not giving it Scald. So I'm going to throw it in B because it is still a nice, really bulky water type. Still has some decent support options. Excuse me. But some decent support options, and it just doesn't feel like it's quite the same without that Scald option. It really, really enjoyed having Scald. So it's going to stay B. Still got the support options. I just don't know if it's going to necessarily be something that we really, really need to consider. But it is a very good range setter, and in my opinion, better than Pelipper, but I'm going to catch a lot of hate for that, I'm sure. Gligar is never going to see usage. I don't know why it's on this. I thought this was a fully evolved list. Anyways, Gligar is going to go D tier. I love Gliscor line, but they're just not going to be it. Piloswine as well. Going to go down here in D tier. Might Yenna, once again, Intimidate, still staying in D tier. Like, Intimidate is cool for it. It just doesn't have the stats or any sort of move coverage or typing to really back it up. Like, Mono Dark is terrible, especially in a Fluttermane era. You know, it's just not there. Now, Ludicolo. Ludicolo, on the other hand, I'm going to go B tier. I do think Ludicolo is definitely something to consider. I don't know how much it's going to see usage, especially since this Ogerpon over here is water grass as well. However, you could go Ludicolo plus a different Ogerpon. The problem is then you're double grassing, and that just doesn't feel as great. I mean, maybe it's still good. Maybe I'm incorrect, but like I do think there's a niche for it, especially on some of the rain teams, which like a Politoed, Basculegion, Ludicolo kind of core seems kind of cool, something to look into. I just don't know if it really gets any farther than cool and look into this, or like I don't think it gets to like, yeah, this is going to be a really good team, I should bring this to a regional sort of thing. Now Shiftry gets Wind Rider now, okay? they decided to say early bird was not the ability for it. Let's change early bird. I believe it was early bird they changed. And they said, let's give this thing Wind Rider. Now, Wind Rider is very cool. For those of you who don't know, that is Brambleghast's ability, which makes it immune to the wind moves and gives it an attack boost if it gets hit by one or when Tailwind goes up. So it definitely is a very nice boost for Shiftry. I don't think it gives Shiftry enough to become relevant in the meta. I think it's going to be enough to give it a shot and give it a test and try it. I just don't think it holds up to anything. I'll put it in a higher end of the C tier. It just doesn't feel like it's quite as high up as it needs to be. Like it's a cool boost. It's a cool buff. I just don't think it does enough, especially in a Flutter Mane format, a Flutter Mane and Iron Hands format. It's just not enough. And then you have better grass types in Ogerpon, and even Ludicolo is just a better grass type. So Shiftry's cool. Wind Rider's fun. Just I don't know if it does quite enough. Volbeat Illumise. Now, I don't want to rule these guys out immediately, but they do get Prankster, which is pretty fun. But I am going to leave them in D tier. I don't think we're going to see them outside of some random meme teams here and there. You know, like, you know, you're going to get those YouTubers that are going to be like, yo, I built this epic Illumise team, right? And, like, they're going to go for that. And that's basically what you're going to get. And those teams are going to be the ones on the ladder. I mean, I could be very wrong. Maybe their Prankster usage does see usage, but I just can't see it getting quite into the metagame at all. Crawdont is very sad. As much as I love my boy Crawdont, it did get power crept. I'm going to go C just because maybe, just maybe, this is some serious copium. Maybe it sneaks into the metagame, but definitely some serious copium. Okay, that's all we're going to say. It's probably a D tier. Like, Aqua Jet doesn't even, like, take out Flutter Mane or do anywhere close to enough, even if you Terra Water, which is very sad. So it's a little unfortunate for that. Like, if you could get Aqua Jet to at least KO some Flutter Manes, I could maybe see it working its way into the meta. But it's probably a C tier, probably an immediate hard fall into D as well. I'm gonna believe in Milotic. I'm gonna go B tier. I am gonna go B tier for Milotic. I think it is a very good Pokemon in this format. Milotic's big problem was it had a lot of options, but a lot of those options it had, it would still be weak to what it was weak to. However, now with Terra, I feel like a Coil set or a Coil Muddy Water set, even just a regular old competitive set with like Recover, stuff like that, just does things, because now not only are you beating what you used to beat, which was like the Landos, the Intimidators, all of that stuff, you're beating those now, and now you can Terra out of what would normally be your weakness, right? So normally like the Landers teams would have an electric type, back in the day anyways, to be able to beat these Milotics, but now you can get out of that electric type. And just being able to Terra, I feel like it allows Milotic to be on the field a little bit longer than it really ever was before. And because of that, I feel like in pairing with Recover, Icy Wind, Ice Beams, Scald, just all that kind of stuff still gives Milotic the tools to be a decent Pokemon. I'm going to go B tier. Competitive is also just a really good ability. Chimecho is going to be D tier, guys. It's just not good. Jirachi I'm not going to rate because it's a mythical. It's not going to be it's not going to be on Dex at all. Not going to be legal. Torterra is one of those interesting ones. I believe it gets Shell Smash now, which is kind of cool. Like Shell Smash Loaded Dice Bullet Seed, I think I saw a picture of that on Twitter somewhere, which is kind of cool. I don't know how viable it is. Once again, there's just better grass types in my opinion. I will put it at the higher end of the C tier, but I think there's just better grass types than this, especially with the other the 4 Ogerpons. Like Torterra is just unfortunately just getting outclassed. Like I was really hyped. Like when I first heard these these Pokemon were coming back, like the Torterras, the Shiftrys, the Ludicolos, you know? Like, when I heard these were coming back, and then Shiftry got Wind Rider, I was like, yo, this is great. I get to use some really cool grass types. And then they just said Ogerpon, and now I just get to use Ogerpon consistently. It's just... I just wish... It's almost... Not that Ogerpon is, like, the only grass type you can use. It's just so good, you'd really need a good reason to not be using it, sort of thing. Right. Also, I don't think Sinistcha is A tier, but I'm going to leave it up there for the memes. Infernape, I'm going to go C. Bottom of C. It's the same old Infernape as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be around. It's going to do a few things. I just can't see it doing all that much. Like, close combat plus fire move is cool. Just, I don't think it holds up versus anything of like the Flutter Mane, stuff like that. Even like the Water Ogre is in its way. Right, like the Rock Ogre as well is a little annoying for it because it has sturdy, probably one-shots you back. Just not great overall, but like maybe it sees usage, that's why I'm keeping it in C. Empoleon, I'm gonna go high. If I put it in C tier, I'm gonna get yelled at. But if I put it in B tier, I feel like it's a little bit too high. I'm gonna go B tier. I'm gonna believe in the competitive boost that it now gets. So it used to be Defiant as the hidden ability, but now it is competitive. And competitive is arguably the better stat or the better ability for Empoleon. It is it wanted to be a special attacker. It didn't get things like Iron Head. You know, it just didn't want to be that physical attacker to really capitalize off Defiant. But now it wants to be that special attacker. You know, you get access to Ice Beam, your Flash Cannons. It feels like a decent option now, right? And I think competitive could beat some allegations. It does do a very good job versus Flutter Mains. I feel like AV and Empoleon could see some usage. Just like, while some Flutter Mains, it takes... The Ogres are a little annoying for it, but like, it's not the end of the world. Like, I feel like it's still a very good mod. I definitely think it could see some usage. Ambipom, buddy. Ambipom, I love you, but you're not beating the allegations. Nor are you, Yen Mega. I love both of you. I love both of these mods. Design-wise, they are amazing. Just competitively, I don't think there's enough buffs in the world to give these things that would make them meta. It's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. They're gonna go down there. Gliscor, it's not outpacing Landorus, and it never will. You might see it on, once again, just a few, hey, I built a Gliscor team, try it out sort of thing, but I don't think it's ever going to be in like serious consideration to shape the meta. Mamoswine, this is B and C. I don't know if it is immune to Intimidate, so because of that, I am going to give it B tier. I don't know if I love it in B tier, but I am going to give it B tier. I feel like it's definitely something to consider, right? Like, it's got the decent typing. It gets a snow boost now, which I think is definitely helping out the bulk side of things. It puts a little bit more pressure onto stuff like Iron Hands because you can hit it back. It's an interesting option. I don't know how much we want it to actually be successful, but I'm gonna leave it in B. I'm gonna not be so hard on Mamoswine like I normally am. Normally I'm pretty hard on Mamoswine, but I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt here early format. Probopass is bad. Dusknoir probably bad as well. Fiona's not gonna get ranked. Manaphy's not getting ranked. Darkrai Shaman also not getting ranked. Conk I'm gonna give C. It's gonna take a lot of work for Conkeldurr to outpace Fluttermane. It's just not gonna do that. It's gonna be really, really tricky to maneuver in. Like, if I'm going to use a slow fighting type, I feel like I'm just going to use Iron Hands. It just feels like the better mod all around. But I could still see some sort of niche maybe where you get like a Guts boost going and you start putting on some damage, start putting on some pressure, and Conkeldurr becomes a good piece because of that. I can kind of see it maybe. But outside of that, I don't see it doing much, so it's going to stay in C tier. Leavanny's going to go D. It's never been a good Pokemon, and it's still not a good Pokemon. Swanna is going to go D tier. It's never been a good Pokemon, and in my opinion, it's still not a good Pokemon. So now we get to two really, really special Pokemon to me, you know. I'm going to give Mandibuzz high C tier. I used it on stream last night just as like an early test, and it felt really, really good. Now, granted, there was some very obvious issues with it, like that Fluttermane weakness. You can live like, you can live like the Terra Fairy Specs Dazzling Gleam, which is cool. Is that the right way to play this mod? I don't know. It's a decent mod. I will give it that. I do think just like having the Tailwind support, having Snarl, having Taunt, having potential Roost if you wanted that. Foul Play is cool as well. Just a lot of options. And then you can go Terra Poison to get out of some of your weaknesses, especially like the Fluttermane weakness. Get Tailwind up, support the rest of your team. I think it's a decent option. I just don't know if it's good enough to really say like, yes, I want to put this mod in like a B or an A tier right now. I don't think it's quite that high, but I do think there's a niche for it. If that kind of makes sense. Trevenant, buddy, I love you. You've never beaten the allegations of the fact that you're bad, though. And I think I'm going to leave you in D. It's very cool. You can tear it out of your Ghost Grass typing now, and then you can be really whatever type you want with Harvest and start farming berries again, which is kind of cool in a sense. I just don't know if it does enough. Like, I feel like Trevenant wants to turn into like a water type and then sit on the field and become a bulky water. But if I'm a Trevenant and I'm just going to become a bulky water, why not just be a bulky water type originally and then have a Terra out of that if I need it, rather than only using Trevenant if I can force the Terra onto it. Just doesn't feel the same to me, right? You've got two better bulky water types. Hell, even Ogerpon is probably a better bulky water type, right? So like I feel like Trevenant doesn't quite get anywhere in this meta, so it's probably not going to see anything. Vikavolt much the same. Vikavolt is much the same. It's chilling in D tier, I think. Like, once again, I feel like these three at the beginning of this D tier could prove me wrong if the right team and the right player comes along and pilots them well. I just can't see them breaking out of it right now, so I don't love it. Like, it doesn't do anything, you know? Like, I can Terra, but I don't care. Yeah, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't do enough for me to justify putting it in any higher tier. Mienshao is cool. I will give it a C tier. It's not nearly as good as it once was, right? But assuming it still gets access to the stuff that it used to get, like I believe it used to get Wide Guard, Feint, Fake Out, cool tools like that. I could definitely see it maybe sliding into a spot on a team here. Like, I could definitely see that. Rabombi, you're not beating the allegations. You're going to the D tier. Kamoa, I'm going to throw in B as well. It just feels like a decent option to me. You know, it just doesn't feel bad in any way, shape, or form. You've got a decent... Your typing is terrible, but you can support that with a Terra. You can go an Iron Defense Body Press set. You can go with a Clanging Scale set and get your boosts all around. It just feels like there's a decent option there. I'm going to leave it in B. It might be a tad bit high, but I do think Kamoa is very cool moving forward. Cramorant, Morpeko. I'm sorry, guys. You're not beating the allegations. It's over. You're going to D tier. And here's Bloodmoon. I don't know if it's S. Okay? I think it's top of A. I really, really do think it is the top of A tier. It doesn't feel quite like an S tier yet, but it's still a very good Pokemon, okay? Like, your ability is basically a better version of Scrappy, which is incredible. You can run this beside maybe something like a Hyper Voice. You also get your signature base 150 move called Bloodmoon, which is just a really powerful piece. It's not going to be bad by any means. And I think it's going to see its way into the meta. Don't know if it beats regular Ursaluna. I feel like it really just depends on what you want. Like, if you want the physical sweeper, you go regular Ursaluna. If you want the special one, you go this Ursaluna, right? But, like, it's good. It's going to see usage. You guys are going to see it around, so get used to seeing it. That's all I'm going to say. Two that aren't on the list is Clefairy and Dusclops. I'm going to rate them together. I'm going to throw Dusclops in A. I think Dusclops is a very good A tier Pokemon. It is an evolite user. It gets the Trick Room. It gets the Will-O-Wisp. It gets the Ally Switch. I have to mention it. I hate to mention it, but I had to. It gets Skill. Does it get Skill Swap? I feel like it might get Skill Swap. Either way, it gets a lot of cool tools and support moves and gets Trick Room up with being really, really bulky as well, right? It's one of those tools that I feel like is a decent replacement for Cresselia if you didn't want to use the Cress. You get Will-O-Wisp, which I think is very, very strong as well. There's reasons to use Dusclops over Cress, I think is what I'm trying to say. You know, with like the Lake Trio, with like the Mesprit and stuff, there's no real reason to use them over the Cresselia. But with Dusclops, I can definitely see you using it over Cresselia, sort of thing, right? Like, there's reasons to use it instead of Cresselia. And that's really why I'm putting it in A tier. I don't know if it's going to be quite A. Probably falls down to a B, but it is what it is. Now, Clefairy is the last one that I haven't done yet. And Clefairy, in my opinion, is it's always been a good support piece, you know? Just a nice little follow me support. If they try to set Trick Room, you can after you your Fastmon beside the Clefairy. Still get to go first. There is a lot of options, I think, for Clefairy to do things. It gets access to Sing. Once again, just another Mon I feel like is a little bit better. Friend Guard is broken, okay? Follow me, Friend Guard, always going to be decent at the very least, right? Like, I don't think it's going to function like Mousehold. I was talking about this in my last video. It's not going to function like the Mousehold. It's going to come onto the field, and it's going to want to support the team more primarily with the follow me stuff. But then you also have the chance that you can't really ignore it. Maybe you run a Sing, right? Because on turns where Clefairy feels useless, because there's a lot of turns where Mousehold's like, it doesn't matter what Mousehold does here. So I feel like the same can be said for Clefairy, and maybe you run like a Sing, right? It doesn't really matter what Clefairy does here, so I'm going to click Sing. If I hit it, I'm in such a good position. If I miss it, oh well, once again, it really wasn't mattering what Clefairy was going to click here, right? So I definitely see Clefairy doing something in this meta. I'm going to keep it bottom of B tier. I don't know if it's been power crept at all or not. Like, I don't know if it's going to hold up versus the rest of the meta is really what I'm trying to say right now. But I can definitely see it making an appearance, right? Dazzling Gleam and hitting Urshifu is never a bad thing, right? The bulk that you have as well with the evolite is really nice as well. So, like, I feel like you can do a lot with Dusclops and Clefairy. But that's going to be this guy. That's going to be it, guys. That's going to be the tier list. Guys, I finally did a tier list in under half an hour. I finally did a tier list in under 30 minutes. Let's go. Okay. But with that, guys, if you guys do enjoy the content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel, and I do appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in a future video.